It has one of the longest memories that I know of. People don't forget what you've done in the past, and whether that be good or bad, by the way. But Hong Kong as a lifestyle is one of the greatest places in the world. If you have the mentality I think that the three of us have, it is a place where damn hard work is taken on board and celebrated. It is a place that does not suffer fools lightly. And if you're of that ilk, it makes it one of the greatest places in the world. My three children were all born here. They all go to local Hong Kong schools and study Cantonese as their first language. But I've absorbed this as my lifestyle, as my home, and it pretty much represents what my entire family has done for the last 200 years, which is seeking a better place that is focused on these principles.
Great. Anthony, would you feel the same way? Is that the way that you would look at Hong Kong? You've lived overseas, particularly in Canada. So to come back here would be very much a case of looking at this as home.
No, in fact, Hong Kong, we talk about Canada of America. It's a melting point of all nations. But in fact, Hong Kong is more than that. After the Second World War and after the Cultural Revolution in China, and a lot of people from Shanghai, from all over China come to Hong Kong. And it's a melting point of all nations from China. And on the other hand, we were fortunate or unfortunate that it's a colony of Britain. And it's bringing a lot of European culture, European technology, and so on. And plus, for the last 30 years, the economy grows very fast. When we are poor, we cannot talk about lifestyle. And then we become a little bit more rich, and then we can talk about life. And then Japan, they started to open the door from the Meiji Restoration, and they grow very fast, and they import quite a lot of the European American culture to Japan, and then modify to Hong Kong. Therefore, it's really a mixture of the modern Asia, or the Europe, America, as well as our Chinese history. And it's making a very unique place to enjoy ourselves, and we believe we will grow.
Thanks indeed for that. So really, both of you, and you both have your own ideas about what makes Hong Kong both a home and a place for lifestyle, the thing that brings us all together. Calvin, I'd like to put that same question to you, but also add a question from the floor here. Not only the question of our lifestyle, but how has a business like Rhombus, which is of course the hospitality business, the hotel business, managed to come through the economic downturn without too many problems, if indeed that's the case?
First of all, lifestyle, I think for business, for investment, definitely is in Hong Kong. And for personal lifestyle, I'm still leaning 50-50 back to Canada. I like the slow pace compared with Hong Kong, but if we focus just talking about business, I do believe that this is the right place, because it's I think the best entry point to China. If you look at the outbound and inbound business, especially for hotel business from China, basically, if I recall the number right, is almost 195 million, last year, outbound, and the prediction from all the reports are talking about 385 million people in 5 years' time. And for the inbound, it's about 121 million from all over the world to China, and in 5 years' time, they are talking about 200 million. With that, I don't think no matter what type of business you are in, the two key thing is traffics. It's a heavy traffic in this Asia Pacific, especially in China. And the next thing is obviously the most important is population. I don't care you're selling wine or fashion or we're selling rooms. Without population, without traffic structure setting, I don't think you can go that far. So if you ask me from a business point of view, definitely this is a place to invest. And I also like to answer the question from the floor about 2009, how we get by. I'm very proud to say that on behalf of my team, I give full credit to my team. Three hotels we managed in 2009, we never go less than 90% occupancy. How we do it is not just cutting costs. I don't really believe in cutting costs because there's so much you can cut. And if there's a company, suddenly you can cut 50% off your payroll or your fixed costs, it means that you just overspend in the last 10 years. What we do is we prepare our management team to make sure that they know what's going to come at them. And we have an advantage because we have a 5-star hotel, 4-star, and a 3-star. The first thing is we work on the corporate guests, the guests that will support us all year round, try to work with them with the budget. They have the same problem. They have lesser budget to spend. So if they cannot afford the 5-star hotel, which is LKF, we offer a much more better deal for them to stay in Panorama, and so on, from 4-star to 3-star. So, so basically, we never even ask any so-called leave without pay. We never lay off anybody. The only thing we did is we freeze hiring, and every team member have to do an extra step. And as I say, I'm very happy that we make 2009 another profitable year for the owners.
Kevin, thanks for that, and also for the very honest reply that you gave about staffing and so forth. But of course, this audience here in this room are not just interested, I think, only about Hong Kong itself. They're about how Hong Kong can be advantage to them, to the world. And I think this question from the floor is a pretty good one. It is to Anthony, and the question is, which will be the top global consumer markets for growth? And I think it's looking at your industry in particular. And then it goes on to say, will it be China and ASEAN? So it's narrowing it right down there. But in essence, have a look at the broader picture and then perhaps look at both China and ASEAN after that.
In fact, definitely, it is China. Yeah, from all the statistics, you can see that the retailing of China is growing by the double digit every year. In fact, it's just started. I told you, when I went to Shanghai, all the way I have been to Shanghai for the last 15 years, and the consuming was just very normal. They go for very luxury items, as I say, just like Vuitton. They know the brands, or Gucci, or Prada, all those things, or go for very cheap products. And the middle market was not there. Of course, the middle market, there's some new rich and poor. There's no middle market. But in these 3 years, I found, even I went to Shanghai and Beijing, a lot of middle market is growing. And this growth in the middle market is not just normal 10% up or something like that. It's going to be 30% up, 40% up. Just like our shop in Shanghai, we opened 5 years ago, and the sales turnover was just say $200,000 renminbi, $300,000 renminbi. But 2-3 years later, it's growing more than 1 million. The growth is incredible. Therefore, we can see that now we are starting in Shanghai and Beijing, and then we have other cities. Just like we just start with Shenyang, or we are going to start with Chengdu, and all those places. 5 years later, 10 years later, will be same as Shanghai and Beijing. And then you have another second-tier city. You have Thailand, you have Tianjin, you have Wuhan, and all those things. Therefore, we can really foresee what will be coming in the next 10 years. Of course, on the other hand, India is also a very important market. They are a little bit democratic. It's good for human beings. But unfortunately, because of democratic, they cannot put the infrastructure so fast. Just like Hong Kong, and it takes years for us to negotiate to get the land to have our highway. But in China, they can get it in 2 weeks. Therefore, Italy, India, they will grow in slower pace, but they are on the right track. And we will see there's a big population, and the population in India is even much younger than China. Therefore, I'm seeing the growth in China for the next 15 years, but by 2025, we also have the problem of the aged people because of the one-child policy. And by that time, we will think of our way out. But in these 15 years, China will be nice, and then after that, India will be nice, and then we have Indonesia, we have Philippines, we have Vietnam, and so on. To your surprise, one of my friends from Philippines, he told me that he is enjoying very good business with their sports fashion. They have several shops selling international, just like Nike or those sports fashion. They are enjoying it. Therefore, the middle market of those emerging countries is growing in the next 10, 20 years. Thank you.
Well, let's stay with Anthony's theme of Asia in particular. You let your mind wander broadly across Asia there. This question from the floor is actually to Gregory, and it's how significant is Hong Kong as a model for wine consumption in East Asia, particularly China?
I think the entire wine market needs to be divided up very clearly between rare and fine wines and commercial wines. Hong Kong as a commercial wine representative for Asia as a model is not particularly good. We have a very, very low consumption. In fact, I think it's the lowest of any developed country in the world. But, of course, we enjoy a plethora of choices, and as far as the logistics and all that sort of thing goes, the sales, etc., are fantastic. But it's the rare and fine wines where the importance lies, because this has a secondary market, a tertiary market. It's actually an investment machine. And Hong Kong, as I mentioned earlier, currently owns about 17 to 20% of all the rare and fine wines in the world. We have an amazing developed collector status in Hong Kong, and if we can expand this through, which is happening at the moment, to places like China, certainly it's already existing in places like Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Southeast Asian countries. The growth potential for this particular industry is absolutely phenomenal, and mainland China is definitely following Hong Kong systems at the moment, Hong Kong ideas on rare and fine wine collecting. So this market is an explosive market. We have not seen any downturn during the last 18 months whatsoever, just constant growth.
And really continuing the idea of, if you like, regional growth in this sort of general area of lifestyle, of the way in which you look at your life. This particular question comes to you, Calvin, and looking at you as, I guess, the giant killer of the hotel industry, how do you keep up with the big boys, and how do you make sure that you have that competitive edge where they're concerned?
We always believe that we build a hotel to whatever the category is, that whatever our so-called colleagues or labor had, we all have. But those are things that we have, they don't have. That's how we're going to survive in this fair competition in this marketplace. Give you an example. We are the first hotel who put an espresso machine in each of our rooms when we start the LKF. And I can tell you right now, any boutique or any big boys, so-called corporate floor, each room will have a basic espresso machines. But I think it'll come down to probability. The key is, in Hong Kong, I think all the owners are looking for profit, and that should be. Because the reason why you go into a business is because you want to make money. You don't want to just look fine and dandy. So we are very emphasized in that area. Even when we build hotel, we are not like all the big boys. They have to have all the fancy stuff. We also always build hotel that which is we are going to last long, and also for operation-wise, it will save cost in the long run. And anything that the guests can see, we'll put money in there. And those things that we don't see, why we want to spend extra money in there. I don't think there's any so-called big boys or small guys, because today's owners are very, very smart. If you look at 30 years ago, when you join a hotel, you marry a hotel. Now, hotel is changing like shirts. It's like it's a real estate now. As long as you build up your high occupancy and good return, people sell. Especially there's so many hedge funds running around too. So again, you have to be special. You have to have your own niche market. You have to position yourself which segment you're going to go after. You cannot go after everything, because if you run a corporate hotel and then you take tour group, you'll ruin the whole concept.
Thank you very much. And looking at selling, we of course look at the broad picture, but we sometimes have a quick jab in there as well. And this question is for Anthony. Somebody's asking you, what makes your handbag unique? Because I think we saw a lot of pictures of your handbag. So what makes it so special?
Yeah, in fact, I just explained. All the way people bring the handbag mostly is for luxury handbag is using the leather. Crocodile or cow nappers or lamb napper and so on. But we use the innovative material is a piece of wine. It's very shiny, it's reflecting the light, and we make it by the handicraft. And then we decorate the shops and making the concept as a type of luxurious fun. And people buy the handbag normally go to the brands. They go for the brands and the quality and so on. It's not in the mood of the fun. Therefore, the whole branding is good for the young people. They look for the fun and look for something different, and which is not difficult at all, but nobody's doing. Therefore, we are just catching this opportunity and develop it.
And I guess actually, if you're taking that as another step into the wine business, Gregory, there is this concept, I guess, of branded wines in a sense, because of course wines are branded. They're branded in France, they're branded in Australia, and so forth. How would you, though, develop something, let's say, out of China? Because very obviously that's a market that could be.
This, if you're talking about the actual sale of wines, 100% branding. If you have a look at the great blue chip companies of the world, there's a hell of a lot to do with branding. All the blue chip wines, there's a hell of a lot to do with branding. So carrying this into mainland China is one of the great challenges, I gather, in the same sense as our colleagues with luxury goods. It comes from great tradition, it comes from great performance over the years, and regrettably a lot of tradition. And that's something that you can only get in over time. And hence all of our traditional, really superb performers, like the La 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 wines, Lafite, Latour, and Latage. These are wines that have impeccable histories and impeccable performance over the years. It certainly does help. Perhaps the growth industries in that second-tier markets that Anthony was talking about, where you can create something new and with a little bit of foresight, a little bit of ask your neighbor, and a bit of assistance perhaps of the market in Hong Kong, it could be a very, very positive way forward.
So you'd see sort of guerrilla campaigns perhaps going forward in some of the lesser-known cities and so forth in the world, where, for example, you'd find lesser-known wines being talked about from one person to another, literally, from one restaurant to another.
Very, very much so. I think it's this whole issue in Asia where we're very, very fortunate, whether it be Southeast Asia or whether it be mainland market, you are able to create a story, you're able to create a brand. Perhaps not on that absolute top tier. That's reserved for the Armanis and for the Lafittes and what have you. But just underneath it, that category 2, you can do a tremendous amount with a little bit of creativity and by asking your neighbor. You have to be in tune with what is going on the ground. My little company used that to great effect when we started off. Before we even established the company, the ask your neighbor principle, found out what people wanted, what did they value, not just service, etc., but all those little extras that they wanted to see. Wines are no different, luxury products are no different.
And Calvin, really looking at at, I guess, the Chinese mainland market. You have got into, I think, a new venture there on the Chinese mainland. I'd like you to talk about that and also about how you're setting yourself up for delivery of the kind of services that you will do.
Let's talk about the travel patterns. It will be next 5 or 10 years. Used to be people travel, obviously, besides business, is destination. The survey come out is right now people changing the pattern now. They are more in sport, i.e. Olympic Games and all that activities, and also we call it the outcome. Okay, what I mean by outcome is like when people like that place, they not necessarily just go there for visiting the culture like Beijing, the Great Wall. They don't just go back to the site, but they enjoy the city. And Qingdao is one of the province that we were told that all the rich people like to retire there. So basically, when Fantasia, this is the group that approached us, want us to manage their hotel, we are delightful to join. Especially, they give us a free hand to change whatever the plan is. When we received the plan, it was calling for 382 rooms hotel in Qingdao with luxury condominium, which is another 400 rooms. And it's a twin tower. The second tower is basically will be the tallest building in Qingdao. But we changed it, okay? From 384, we changed it to 182 now. Why? Again, it's based on the same philosophy. If we go with the original plan, we can never compete with Sofitel, Shangri-La, all the existing brand already. But we want to create an all-suite brand, which is every single room are suites. And basically in Qingdao, there's no such thing. And the owners go with us. And plus, the biggest challenge is the chairperson, okay, is a young lady. And obviously, they would not allow any massage sauna, karaoke. And without these two things in China, basically you can even survive. But why we want to take on that challenge is we want to create a different market. We want to create a market that nobody dare to touch, but we will get into it. Again, that's how we survive. That's how we can pick up so many projects, because anything we do, we want to be different. And basically, we believe that they will continue to trust us, because they already have 5 projects in hand, and they are approaching us to look into it too.
So what you're basically saying is keep away from the low end of the market, go for the middle to high end of the market. Is that
not necessarily. In a way so, because again the survey, I agree what Anthony say. The surveys has been proven the next 5 to 10 years, there will be more luxury boutique, no more those big guys. You can even go to Shanghai, Pudong, the newest Shanghai Bund, Hyatt, okay, it's I think it's 101 floor, but the Hyatt, the only Hyatt is only 145 rooms within that tall building. So the survey is talking about people who have money want everything different. They don't want the old traditional hotels. But on the other hand, the survey also showed that there will be a lot of local traffic, budget hotel, and also service apartment. So I think in any business, we have to know the pattern, how it goes. Especially in Asia, China right now is a superpower, not military, superpower of world tourism. They are the one who stabilize 2009. And without them, I don't think that the Asia, this part of the world can do that good, because 80% of the outbound remain in Asia. So again, it doesn't mean that it's going to be luxury or budget. As long as we know the market place and the pattern, and if we believe that that is a niche, then we go in there.
Yeah, maybe Martin, maybe I share some idea of myself.
Yes, please. Yeah.
In these topics. In fact, 10 years ago, I had attended one seminar organized by one of the leading universities from America. And the speaker was named Mr. Porter, who was supposed to be the father of marketing in America at that time. And what he mentioned was, okay, in any market, any segment of the market, you are top 3 or out. Therefore, we have to ask ourselves. Yeah, from that, I decided. We have to, whenever we go anywhere, we have to ask ourselves, in that segment, can we be top 3 in that area? And now, the world is very globalized. Therefore, we have to be top 3 in the world in that particular segment. Therefore, in case we go for, just to say, can we compete with those big boys in that segment? In case yes, we go. In case no, then we have to go for some area, that's what we call the niche market. And therefore, that is also all along for this last 10 years, the philosophy of our companies. We don't compete with those areas that we do not have confidence to be top 3 in the world. We compete to those small areas that we have confidence to go.
Is the Chinese mainland really the only sort of market that you see in the world right now that you have these very many opportunities, or are there other places?
Of course, what I call for top 3 or out means in the mature market. Of course, in the growing market, anybody can have some opportunities. But at the end of the day, you will face the same fate. Say 10, 15 years or later, you'll be out. Either, in case you are lucky, you will be bought by those big chaps. In case you are not lucky, then you have to be out of the business. But from that point of view, I quite agree with him, and I'm doing for the last 10 years.
And Gregory, you're really looking at it from the wine industry, because this is coming from really a zero base and exploding. So I guess for you, the market on the Chinese mainland is just enormous, I mean, in every sense.
But I have to agree with what Anthony says, though. So it's something very important for everybody here. Even if you go into the mainland, even if you create your own niche, you do only have a window of 10 to 15 years. After that, the big boys that are 1, 2, and 3 in the world, if they see that you're doing well enough, they're going to be right on your tail and coming in to take whatever market share you've got. So you've got that 10, 15 years to create your company into something which effectively is as good as the top 3 in the world. Otherwise, look at it as a short-term arrangement, take your profits and run. And this goes for the wine industry as well. I have to, again, agree with my colleagues. Uniqueness is what it's all about. When I set up this company, Crown Wine Cellars, we had nothing that was effectively unique. Wine storage is something that's happened for 400 years in the UK. This is not reinventing the wheel. But what makes it unique is doing silly things like taking a heritage building, something which is incredibly important to the social fabric of a society, renovating something like that, putting your footprint into society, putting your footprint into different sectors of architecture, of construction. It became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Integrating that with a great company and creating a brand as you would, not like Bugatti, which everybody knows about, but something like Pagani, which I'm sure many of you sports car fanatics would have heard about. Great Italian company that started up just a few years ago and now regarded in the top 5 in the world vis-a-vis great sports cars. It can be done if you're unique and give yourself the 10 to 15 year window, otherwise somebody is going to zap you.
That's good advice, I would have thought, and particularly where we're talking about sports cars and racing cars, because I think that's also one of your passions as well as wine.
Absolutely. No, I used to do a little bit of motor car racing in the old days, and I had the first Lotus Esprit Turbo in mainland China, and it was a right-hand drive in those days, and you weren't allowed to drive right-hand drives, but as a diplomat you got a temporary license for 1 week, which cost 1 renminbi, which is basically 1 Hong Kong dollar. and I had to renew that every week. So that was my passion in China. But yeah, and since then it's been wine and downhill.
And you don't miss being a diplomat, obviously.
Absolutely, but you don't need petrol for that, fortunately.
Can I ask you about sort of specific markets? I mean, people say that in China, you're talking about a market that's growing old. I don't actually see it whenever I go there. I actually see a lot of young people, and they're all buying brands. But is there a sense that this is a market that's getting old, that their lifestyles are gradually going to be all embracing, that the younger are going away? Is it true, or is it a total? Wow. I'll ask Calvin that.
I think today is the most powerful thing is the wireless and internet. And you can see the younger generation, before in our business, before they arrive to a strange country or a place, they already know more than the locals. It's a changing world, right? And again, there's so much information you can feed through the wireless and the internet that you can learn every day. That's why you have to, basically we talk about how long each business lasts, or to my case is how long each hotel going to last. Again, it's around 10 years or so, because the cycle really come back either 10 to 20 years. But if you catch the right moment of so-called that generation growth, that's where the successful story is all about.
Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I have to, in general terms. But to go more specific to what you're talking about now, I think, of course, you can go statistic-wise and look at what mainland is happening. That one-child policy, you had 2 parents, 1 child, it's got to be an aging nation. But I do believe that's being loosened up right now, and this is China's amazing ability to tackle these problems and change them. So I don't think that's going to be an ongoing problem. But again, what area are you in? Kelvin's business, I'm sure that is a 35-year-old to 60-year business, otherwise chaps can't afford it. Anthony, probably the same, certainly for rare and fine wines. We're not looking at 20-year-olds. They will grow into these luxury brands very quickly if daddy and uncle are doing the same sort of thing. So I don't mind whether I focus on a 35-year-old, a 45-year-old, or a 65-year-old. If he's into that business, I will get his next generation very, very quickly. And this is certainly what's happening with rare and fine wines. And because it's outperformed equities by about 11% year on year for the last 10 years, makes for good investment as well. So on many different areas, nail them with a lot of different information, something unique, and you've got a little captured group.
In fact, I agree with Kelvin that the internet, the handphones, and all the information is changing a lot. And the Chinese people is not like 5 years ago anymore. I just mentioned that 5 years ago, 3 years ago, people jumped to those big names. Now when you go to, I went to Paris last month. I went to the Vuitton shops, and I saw 80% of the buyer, the customer, is from mainland China. But one thing very interesting is those mainland China people to me, is different from those mainland China people visiting Hong Kong. Why? Those two boys, really, they are jump into those Vuitton shops are those from villages, really inland provinces. While those modern city, they know there's not only those big names. They ask for more individuals. I think they're just following Japan. Japan, I think last year, all those big names is dropping their sales. And they go for more individuals, they go for more value for monies, and they go for really lifestyles. I think this is the trend. What is going to happen in those inner provinces will follow what is doing in Shanghai now. Therefore, they are asking something really in line with all the modern societies. Now they are a bit backward, but it's very fast. Talking about the one-child policy, in fact, I think they are now changed a little bit. You cannot have the second child in the big cities, but in the villages, still you are allowed to have 2. And in fact, in those villages, is still, they are having about more than 2/3 of the population. Somebody said 700 million, somebody say 800 million. Out of 130 million, that means about 60%, is still they can have a second child. Therefore, the case is not as worse as what we are facing in Japan or what we are facing in Europe.
There's some rich comments, I think, from all of you gentlemen on... but let's look finally, I think, at what Hong Kong is, the window on Asia. Hello? Yep. Yes? Just looking really at my final question, which is looking at Hong Kong as the window on China and the rest of Asia. And I'd like to get your views, if I may, and starting with Calvin, on where you see your business developing, using Hong Kong as the base into the future, until the next 10 years, let's say. Actually, the day that I come back to Hong Kong, already in our corporate plan that Hong Kong is the best entry point to China, not just China, but to Vietnam, to Indonesia, and even the worldwide countries too. We look at Hong Kong culture. I'm talking about the business culture. It's a place that basically you can voice your opinion freely, and you can bring in your money, and you can take your money out easily too. And basically, the government always encourage people investment and also development too. So to me, that's the reason why we moved our corporate office, our head office to Hong Kong 3 years ago. And in the next 10 years, I still believe that we can do hotels everywhere in the world, just basing in Hong Kong.
In fact, just in line with our discussion just now, we have to ask ourselves, what type of thing in the next 15, 20 years we can be top 3 in the world? That's the answer. For example, now we talk about the niche market. In China, the Chinese market is an Asian market. It's really, really so big. Therefore, there's a lot of niche areas that we can jump into that. And this area, as the market is so big, that this niche area itself is big enough. Hong Kong, we have a traditional handicap that we have only 7 million of population. Therefore, we did not have our really good brands in a lot of areas. We have brands like HSBC in the banking. We have good brands like Sun Hong Kay or Chiang for the property businesses. But for most of the consumer market, because of limited population, we did not have our really good brands. Therefore, now, I do not think it's easy for us to compete with those big names in the world for Chinese market. Therefore, we have to look for our really premium, high value added niche market for our future.
My answer is very, very simple. Anything to do with wines, this is the center of the world. Forget about the center of Asia. It's by far the largest growth market. We clearly have central government, as in mainland government, authorization to be in our position as the wine center of Asia. This is something that's designated like casinos in Las Vegas. So I would encourage anybody who has anything to do with wines, whether it be logistics, whether it be sales, storage, what have you, this is certainly the center. On a slightly broader note, I have to, as a 100% confirmed Hong Konger, suggest to everybody here, the reason why you're at this forum is why Hong Kong should be your platform. We are totally multicultural. I'm the best example of that. We have a great balance between English and Chinese as equals on a platform. Incredible government, great rule of law. Geography is perfectly placed. You don't have to be a rocket scientist and look at a map and see where we are. And we're on the doorstep of one of the incredible growth histories of mainland China that is going to supersede Japan very soon as the second largest economy in the world. We're designated by the mainland government to have certain functions. We will be the finance capital of China. We have this incredible position, but it's very easy for you to do business here. That's the crucial element. So please do come across and enjoy our platform with us. Thank you.
Gregory, thank you very much indeed. Gregory Deb, concept founder and general manager, I think, of Crown Wine Cellars. Anthony Keung, Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Group Holdings, thank you very much indeed. And Calvin Mack, founder and CEO of Rhombus Hong Kong Management. Thank you all, gentlemen, very much for taking part and providing us with such interesting thoughts about Hong Kong, your business, and the future.